Welcome back to the All Things Then podcast. I'm Akintunde Idowu, and today we will look at the topic, crafting a strategic career path and not just blindly following your passion. Now, this episode is all about mixing inspiration with a dose of reality, ensuring that you're not just dreaming big, but you're also planning smart. Now, let's get started. We've all had those electrifying commencement speeches. You know, the ones where they make you feel like you could paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, or climb, ropes. Now, Nick Selby said, if you want to change the world, you can do that. If you want to build the Iron Man suit, you can do that. We can all do that. Steve Jobs also said that the only way to do great work is to love what you do. John Legend in 2014 said, pursue this life of love with passion. Now, all of this, they are all inspiring, isn't it? Yeah? But is following your passion really a good advice? And today we would be exploring why that might not always be the case. Now, like former President Barack Obama said, I want you to have passion, but I also want you to have a strategy. So let's talk about passion. Now, passion is powerful, but it's not always enough to build a career. For example, when I got to the university in 2013, I developed a passion for photography, cinematography, videography, and media-related projects. I had desired to attend Full Sail University in the USA and learn cinematography, but the tuition was around like $70,000. And reality check sets in. How will I get such amount, especially when my family income was probably less than $1,000 monthly? And also with the fact that the local environment does not exactly reward or place such jobs in the most rewarding careers. So it became obvious that this is exactly not the bill-paying job that I want. Now, passion is a luxury for many people around the world, but income is a necessity. Chris Rock remarked when a lady goes, I want you children to learn that you can do anything and you can be anything you want to be. And he said, lady, why are you lying to these children? Maybe only 4 of them could be anything they want to be. But the other 2,000 people, they have to learn how to weld, how to become electricians, and how to do other things. Now, tell the kids the truth. You can be anything you want to be good at as long as people are hiring you. And this statement itself is the reason why, even though a lot of us might have values that people, values that we can offer, it is only when the environment is rewarding this value that it becomes profitable for us. So I'll probably say when you're deciding between your career and your passions, ask people if they are willing to pay for your value. And in the future, if this same career or passion will be relevant. If not, it should probably just be a hobby and nothing more than that. Now, not everyone can be anything. Our early passions don't often align with our later career paths. And, there's a lot of people who have like similar stories here. Now, personally, I had desired to be either a graphics designer, a cinematographer, or a big-time photographer, or even a music composer. But never ever would I have thought that law was going to be a career I would end up in and somewhat be thriving in. And primarily, this is because I never really loved to read books as a child. In fact, I hated it. And I would rather do things that are more practically inclined, like mathematics and solving, things, that are not abstract. I wasn't so much for the abstract things. But the truth is that life had other plans for me. My career is nothing but direct. Now, between 2008 and 2011, I had picked art-related subjects, and I now had the responsibility to love reading. I tried, but it was not natural. And in 2012, I'd started exploring other passions just in a bid to find the right passion because I was not sure where I would end up and which of the skills will remain relevant for me tomorrow. I learned how to print in a workshop as a vacation skill. I learned photography. I learned videography. I learned how to sell, fashion goods. I learned graphics design. I learned web design. I learned how to play the keyboard and drums. Now, all of these were all useful at different seasons of life for me. And I also found platforms to use them, like church, like my community events, but not exactly rewarding financially. And I don't think I can depend on them. And also, I was not exactly the best talent out there in these areas, so I wasn't also well sought after. Hence, I turned all my focus to law while making all these other things my hobbies. And right now, I actually think I'm on the right path, doing well, for myself. Now, many times our passion develops through curiosity and perseverance. And passion is not just following what you love, but it's also developing yourself through effort. And right now, we're going to be talking about strategy. But before I give you some of my views about it, I'm going to welcome two of my guests today. I have with me Wale and I have with me Yetunde, to share their views on how they started out on their career. And I'll ask them a few questions that I think, would probably resonate with we younger ones who are looking to start our career journey and are, trying to find answers, to these things. Now, welcome, Mr. Wale. And welcome Yetunde.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Okay, so how did you, and neither of you could answer this question, how did you discover, the right career path for yourself?
Well, if I will go first, passion and hobby, they're similar things. In life, while you're growing, you emulate some people that you see that, oh, that's good. Let me go through that way. Probably my voice might not be so wonderful, but I want to be a musician. Because looking at some musicians, how they receive a lot of accolades, a lot of publicity, even though in our own times it's not too rewarding, but it's still rewarding compared to others because they have fame. They have fame and stuff like that. Let's say like Michael Jackson. Those are role models, and it became a passion and hobby that you learn from on your way through. But to be honest with you, when you get to a junction, you have to review yourself. Does this passion going to put food on my table? Is it something that sustainable? And when you get to a place, then you need to review yourself. And there's a lot of things also that is they are bottleneck for you in achieving so many things. Having an African parent, they're all is that it's all about education. Even though you have passion to do so many other things that you think that will be rewarding for you, but your parents, that's one. Another one is the community. The community or the environment puts you into a very strenuous ways, to achieve whatever you want to achieve. One in terms of your passion, your hobby, and another one in terms of your education. Going through education, if you want to go to university, there's a lot of hurdles, a lot of exams, a lot of competition that you need to go through. I wasn't very good in mathematics, so I was running for every courses that would bring in mathematics, until I decided to say, okay, I want to go to university and read business management. Well, I saw it as something that might not involve a lot of calculations. That's my projection were wrong. Getting in there and see that we are doing a lot of mathematics and calculations, it makes me to change my mind and said, oh, yeah, what's it about this mathematics? Yes, I can achieve it. I can do it. And I take off my time, lock up myself for a while, and I did well. And I started building on my own, after finishing, because mathematics, accounting and business management, we're in the same department, we do the same courses, all calculations were done together. So I end up, saying that, okay, after my business management degree, and I'll go for accounting, the professional courses I started, and gradually. But that was not my passion. But however, in music, who's going to, like you said earlier, you need to evaluate yourself. Are you going to be hired? Are you going to make money? Is it going to put food on your table when you grow up? The answers will be no. because you might not be the best in that environment, in that field. So which area are you going to get people to hire you? And I find out that, well, accounting is a lucrative course, which we discover that if the company is growing, they need an accountant. If the company is even closing down, they still need an accountant. So you are always needed in that market. So I end up being an accountant, and I can encourage the younger ones who are coming that you don't need to struggle with your passions, your hobbies, and the profession, okay? Even though you might end up being the person of your passion, but education is key. Achieve something so that the way you are growing, you finish primary school, you dump the rest of your people, you go on your different paths, go to secondary school, you might still have in touch with few of them, okay? But when you get to university, you are meeting with people with like minds that are going to be somebody in life, that are going to be in pool of your connections. They are the ones that will be probably your clients. When you become somebody in life, you can still reach up to them. Oh, I'm a lawyer now. Oh, I'm an accountant. Oh, can I link you with this? Can I link you with that? When you're growing up, when you reach that stage, you now see that, oh, my passion, I can flip into it, becoming a musician. And these people will be your own people that will support you in achieving whatever you want to achieve. So we don't mix passion, hobbies, and profession. Profession is key. Have a profession at hand, then it elevates you to wherever you want to be tomorrow. Wow. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me on this podcast. And, the first thing I'd like to really say, or maybe it's the second now, is passion. We must be able to separate passion from reality. And I suppose that's more of what we've been echoing already. Now, passion is something that comes right from you, right from within, that you don't struggle with. Like, you love to do this and you enjoy doing it. They wake you up. Now, you don't even think about it when you're doing it, and off you get onto it and you feel good about it. That's your passion. However, oftentimes it's not entirely sustainable in the beginning. It may work, it may become profitable later, but not many people survived, or not many people built a formidable empire based on their passion alone. If you dig deep into, the stories, the autobiographies of people who we now look up to as the celebrities or people that we say, okay, they're role models. They started out. They may now be showcasing their passion, building on it, cashing out on it, but not many of them actually grew up saying that they wanted to be a musician or whatever they became, and they went on with it. I'm not saying there isn't, but not many people would survive based on passion alone. And that's why strategizing is important, because there is that place of passion and there is the place of reality. And when we're talking about reality, we're talking about something of substance, something that can actually foot your bills, something that you can identify with when it comes to your career pathway. So yes, as we're growing, as teenagers are developing themselves, growing into adolescence, they will be definitely, they are imbued with a lot of gifts, a lot of talents that will be popping up, that they will be discovering as they grow up. But I would say that they shouldn't rely on that. It will be, I won't say it's wrong, it won't be entirely wrong, but it won't be feasible or sustainable to say, yes, I see that I can sing, I see that I can draw, or I can write poems, and I want to actually build on that and live on that, and that's why you often see most parents saying that even though they've identified these talents, they've identified that you have this passion, but you still have to do something realistic. And the realistic part of it is developing a career, choosing a career path, developing it. And as you build the career, then your passion will pop in. And at the end of the day, the merger between the two will bring you to that limelight and, get it sustainable. Because at the end of the day, if one doesn't really work as planned, there is always something that will keep you, keep your body and soul together and get you to where you want to get to.
And at the end of the day, it's about paying the bills.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's really good. And obviously, both of you are from the African economic landscape. So you've lived in Africa, specifically Nigeria, and you understand how things work there. Now you also have the opportunity to live here in our island, and you sort of have an idea of how things also work here. Would you say that the environment that is created in Ireland can support people's passions compared to Nigeria? Because I've had encounters with a lot of people where they've been frustrated by following their passion back in Nigeria, but it might be a different scenario here. So I just want to hear your views about that. Do you think, the Irish landscape economically and, environment actually provides more support for passion compared to, the African landscape?
I would say absolutely. Let's look at the story of Katie Taylor as a boxer, a female boxer. I know there's so many millions of people who have passion for boxing in Africa, but they never meet anywhere. They never get to anywhere because there's no support. The Irish government or the Irish environment, the landscape, have a lot of support for your passion. Because your passion is discovered even from primary school. Then go to secondary school, and then your lecturer or guardians and counseling always see something in you that is unique from others. And by then, they give you a lot of required support and mentoring. We have a lot of mentoring, apprenticeship here in the system that's lacking back home. All those things support you to, so that it makes most people to think about, my passion is unique and I can thrive in it. However, this is an environment that have a social system, a social support that at every stage you can access. Okay, so in case you try and you fail, you can still put food on the table. It might not be so excellent like you want it, but at least government support is still there to push you on and make you carry on in whatever your passion or your hobby is. However, I've seen people in that way that excel with their passion here in Ireland, whereas some does not, even though they think they can, but at the end of the day, they fall back into a career path. But in the system that we come from in Africa, everything is missing. There's no support from government, there's no support from the environment, from the community. All you have to do is a career path to sustain yourself in life, even though that too is practically not sustainable with the economic situation.
Thank you.
Well, back at home, you were trained or educated to become financially viable. You either go for a particular profession, which they know that at the end of the day, when you graduate, you get a job. You need to sustain yourself, you need to give back to the family, a child can, at least back then, you can't. It's really difficult for a child to just wake up and say that I just want to be something that's not entirely, you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just had to choose a career path. Unlike here, where you can actually develop yourself academically and at the same time develop your passion as you go. And in this landscape, I mean the Irish landscape, like he rightly said, you know, there are strategies in place to identify, to support, and to help you grow. And you're not just growing in your passion alone. You are actually growing both ways. So at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation. Your passion is developing and they're making you viable. They're making you relevant. At whatever stage you find yourself, at least you won't be stranded. So the system is changing, that even now at home, back in Africa, we now see parents who are enlightened enough to actually support, to support children when they say that they need this, or they have this talent, they have this passion. Parents are now more supportive. Unlike before that, daddy says you have to be an engineer, then you have to be an engineer. And mommy says you have to be a doctor, or daddy and mommy says you're going for medicine, then medicine it is. And I would say that's why even now we are seeing people whose parents actually imposed a particular profession on them or wanted them to study a particular thing. And at the end of the day, they got the certificate for the parent, and eventually they went they went back to their passion. But at the end of the day, we're talking about the environment, how enabling the environment is, how supportive the environment is. Yes, it is much better here. And of course, it can be much better back at home. And I suppose that's why we are having these conversations, so that when people hear, they would know that it's not just about, okay, I want you to be this, even though the economy may not be viable enough to support your dreams, to support your passion. Yeah, we can still create room. We can still assist you while ensuring that at the end of the day, you get the education. You get what you're supposed to get. You get the firm foundation. Because in fairness to parents back at home, back in Africa too, we are only just considering the fact that, okay, they want you to be financially okay, they want you to be able to stand on yourself. We can't rule out the importance of education in all of this. And as we already know that education is a gateway. It gives you a solid base, it gives you a firm foundation where anything can be built on it. Regardless of what goes into the foundation, once the foundation is solid, at the end of the day, whatever you build on it would stand the test of time. So education is key. And that's why passion alone is not sustainable without a firm education. So, and this environment, the Irish environment, or this country as it were, gives you a better leverage. It places you at a higher pedestal to thrive with your passion, to thrive, and even gives you the opportunity to combine both. Because we have specialized schools where you can learn, you can build yourself, or you can be built educationally, and of course develop your passion while at it. And well, if one has to go before the other, at least at the end of the day they meet at some point, and you thrive well, you do well, you become recognized and you become fulfilled, unlike the streamlined pattern where we actually
Where you have to do.
But I hope it will get better.
Yeah.
And things will change.
No, that's
a perfect example would be the moderator himself, who is now combining both law and the media as his passion.
And I can imagine,
and excelling.
I can imagine if you had decided that you weren't going to the university, or you're just going to be stuck on your photography or videography. I can imagine what your parents would have, it would have been a tug of war, and it wouldn't have been easy. But at least you got the foundation. You were firmly built, firmly rooted in your profession and in your career, and you're building your passion on it now, and you're combining both. And it's working both ways. So
Thank you for the kind kind feedbacks. I suppose, like, personally for me, it was also about, like, seeking counsel and trying to get the best information possible before making decisions. Because obviously I had my own code. I had, like, people who had gone ahead of me and we're already flourishing in, like, different careers, and we never actually had any lawyer in my family, so it was, like, also a novel, like, pathway that I was trying to, like, tread. But I sought, like, counsel. Okay, how likely is it for me to, like, succeed if I were to be a photographer? How likely was it for me to succeed if I were to be a cinematographer in Nigeria? Like, there are probably 1,000 more people who are probably better, because I'm trying to combine, like, loads of things and all of those things like that. So it wasn't exactly, like, it's not a fertile ground, for me to, try to dip my feet. But then with the right counsel, it was a case of, okay, why not just keep building these skills on the side, just doing it as, like, a hobby? If you get paid for it, great. If you don't, like, still just enjoy what you do, but still, like, go to school, prioritize your education, because you never really know, like, the amount of doors that will open up to you. And I like, really, like, that was really what happened. It was the fact that, like, I focused on law, that really, like, opened a lot of doors that other ones wouldn't open up to. And if that door wasn't opened, if the legal education like, career route wasn't opened, then I won't have access to be able to, like, do podcasting, for example, now, which I am now doing now. So I think it's a very good counsel you give them. Now, one follow-up question that I have is in terms of, do you think we have actually ruined the world for young people in terms of the way we have made everything solely dependent on education? And by education, I mean going to school formally to obtain, a certificate. Do we think that, because in some other climes, they focus on, like, vocational, skill sets, like building the skills first and then learning the terms later, right? But then in, Nigeria and other African countries, other economies like that, there's so much, investment into, you have to go to school. If you don't go to school, you can't really, do something worthwhile with your life. So have we ruined the world by making education the focus of things for young people?
actually, there's a particular name I'm trying to remember. That man lived in America. He's an education critic, and most of his he did TED Talks a lot, and his main argument actually is people or children should be allowed to develop naturally, should be allowed, to develop their passion, that taking them to school, having them to go through school, the school system is kind of limiting their talents and their the inbuilt, ingenuities that most of these children have. Well, which on the one side, his arguments are really valid, because every child is different and everyone has loads of endless talents, endless possibilities, endless creativity. He was always stressing, I'll try and remember his name before the end of the podcast. He was always stressing on, helping children to develop their creativity, and how the school system is stifling those creativity. That's an argument on the one side. But on the other hand, education is important. And sometimes even education helps to hone your skills. It helps to hone your creativity. So it's a mixed bag, really. We can't entirely say that one is exclusive of the other, or they are both mutually exclusive. And if you really want to get the best, it's more of, finding the right balance between, your creativity and the level of education that you have. Now, back to your question. Have we actually
ruined the world?
Well, I wouldn't entirely say no. We haven't ruined the world in any way. Yes, the world is developing at a rapid stage. What we were exposed to while we were growing up is entirely different to what the children that are growing now, the teenagers that are growing now, that they are being exposed to is entirely different. Yes, we can link back and say yes, but the typical teenager now, they are more
technologically driven.
Exactly, they are technology driven, and most of their learning, most of their growth and development actually doesn't take place outside the internet. So I suppose their exposure is different, their growth is different. The question I suppose that we should be asking is, how is technology actually aiding and supporting their growth? How is their exposure? How is it helping everything they are being exposed to? How is it supporting their world? And what potential does it have for them in the nearest future? Like, how sustainable, how realistic, and what will most likely be the outcome of all these things they are being exposed to when give them 20, 30 more years? What would really be the outcome? What will be the output that we are getting, or that we will be getting by then? What will be the output, and how far can it really sustain and take them? So the world is not ruined. There's still the area of the passion. People develop or discover their passion every day. People are working on their passion, and the educational system is still there for everyone who is ready to follow it. So it's still what we used to know, but the systems have changed, the dynamics have changed, the strategies have changed, and new things are coming in, and the internet is the big giant, is the big elephant in the room now, that is more or less directing the affairs of everything. So the question should be, how far will this take us? What would most likely be the end point or the end goal? Give it 20 years, give it 30 years. What will we be getting at the end of the day with this level of exposure and dynamics now?
Okay, thank you very much. Just another question for you there before we go on the commercial break. So, she's raised the issue of technology and how it's impacting careers now. And obviously, there are even more, it appears that we're having more jobs, being done away with. They are being taken out of the system because they are not as relevant as, you would need them to be. And new jobs are being imported, just to have more ideas. So we have people who, in the past, we never had anybody called an AI officer. But now today you have companies having an AI officer. You have companies having data protection, officer. You have people who are technology leads and coming up with ideas for how the company's growth, is going to be shaped. Now, what counsel do we have for the younger generation now when it comes to leveraging technology and harmonizing it with passion or career?
Thank you. When we look at, I want to talk a little briefly about the previous question.
Okay.
Just briefly about ruining the technology, ruin the life with concentration on education. Education it's critical to everything we do. And how do we define education? That really matters a lot. It's not about going to university, and get a certificate that determines what education is. It's more about being aware of your environment. What is the need? What did I need to contribute? What skills did I need to learn? And this will be from environment to environment. Going to Africa, there's so many trainings in the university that it's not needed in that environment, or it's not being harnessed. You just get people go to university and read some courses, You know, that at the end of the day, when they come out, they become something else. You know, so it's not sustainable in those areas. However, what is more sustainable in some areas is more about the vocational training, the technical aspect of things, be able to do things with their hands. Let's say in the area of being a auto mechanics, in the area of being a carpentry or joinery, you know, all those things are missing in those environments. Those trainings are not being given to our children. I mean, to be honest with you, that can be a passion of some people within that environment. But if there's no support, if they don't get support, all they get is you have to go to school. And you know, the educational sector just places you on whatever they give you. You end up want to do medicine, and at the end of the day, what they give you is just they give you botany. You understand? And you end up coming out as a botany, and you end up in a bank. You know, you can see how it doesn't work in this environment like that. This environment is, once you are into career in finance, you follow your trend in finance. When you are in law, you follow your trend in law. So now technology have changed a lot, and we have to move with it, because the younger one, even from age of 1 or 2 or 3, are conscious of the technology. They started playing games. You don't need to tell them. You don't need to teach them. They just develop it naturally, you know, and that's how they grow. From primary school to secondary school, they discover different things, okay? So to take the advantage of the technology is just about looking for areas of this young people's passion. One is a passion, second one is a hobby, support them with the education. However, what I mean is that if in China, if you go to China today, you see young children in primary school, you know, building up carpentry works, building up rails, doing things that are more practical. And these are all learned by the internet. The internet is a fantastic educational tools. You know, you don't need to be there to get it. You know, you can get it from in front in your room. You can develop things, ideas, develop your passion. So the way we define passion and hobby in the past is different from today, because you can grow your passion and hobby and make a lot of money with it today. The younger generations, the only negative or disadvantage I see in the younger generation is that they are becoming more isolated. The relationship with people is no more there. Okay, so many jobs have been taken away by the technology, like you said. In the last 20, 30 years, we don't have robots doing some works. Today, robots doing some works that they don't need human being to do. However, we don't work isolation. You don't work from home. In the past 20 years, even 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, you don't think about working from home. Now people work, sleep on their bed, work from their bed, you know, do everything in their corner, you know, so they're becoming more isolated, which now is coming mental illness. You know, there's a lot of mental issue, because if you don't relate with people, relationship with people to have a lot of disadvantage, you know, so the technology is taking that away, is replacing it with what they want. But the problem is that it's going to be a catastrophe in future, because those children will find it difficult to relate with other children. Rather, they will be relating with robots. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to go on a brief commercial break, after which we're just going to talk about, like, you know, 1 or 2 advice you have for the young people, and then we end to this podcast. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Are you or someone you know looking to further your education in Europe with an incredible scholarship? Rainbow Consulting Services, led by Ms. Funmi Komalafe, is offering amazing scholarships for Nigerian students to study in Ireland and the EU. First, they have the MSc in Artificial Intelligence for Business, originally 17,000 euros, now just 10,000 euros, and only 10 out of 15 slots are left. Eligible applicants need at least a TTU in STEM or business and 3 years of relevant work experience. There's also a 50% scholarship for the MSc in Nursing at the University College Cork, UCC, Ireland, originally 18,900 euros, now 9,450 euros. There are limited slots available. Now, for more information or to apply, contact Rainbow Services at 090-811-89515 or WhatsApp +353 899 612193. Mention that you heard about them on All Things Them podcast. Rainbow Consulting Services offer comprehensive support, including course counseling, application guidance, personal statement writing, and visa application support. They are your go-to partner for educational success in Ireland and the EU. Spread the word and let's build the future together. The details will be in the show notes. Now back to our show. Now, welcome back to our final segment of today's show. And I want to say a very big thank you to our guests today who have actually shared from, the hearts of their hearts. Thank you so much. And it's so lovely to have you here. What counsel do you have for people who are just trying to discover, should I follow my passion? Should I follow my career? Or how do I even harmonize both? What counsel do we have for them?
Well, I'd say that, as we have already pointed out, there is the area of your passion, and there is that area that is realistic. You should be able to separate the two. So identifying is the first step. Identify that you have a passion in this area. But even when you have that passion, sometimes when you discover your passion, it is as raw. It is in its raw form, and it needs a lot of modification. It needs a lot of fine-tuning. You need to hone your skills. You need to even acquire the knowledge to even appropriate the passion. Okay, like somebody discovers now that they have a passion for music. Yes, they would need to build on it. They would need to go to music school. They would need to,
learn,
go for their
voice training,
and all that. So it's not just about finding your passion alone. You must identify the passion, and after identifying the passion, how do you build on it? And that's where your education comes in. Now, this education of a thing does not necessarily mean separating your passion from your education. You can discover that you have a talent in football, and you can go to a football school, a football academy, develop it from there. So while you're developing your passion, you are also getting educated. So the two can actually be merged together. The two can, be developed.
They're not exclusive. Yeah.
They can be harmonized. And at the end of the day, and if you are in an environment that doesn't support your passion, the best is, yes, keep working on your passion on the side. Keep, in your own little corner, keep working on it while doing something realistic. And at the end of the day, I can tell you that by the time you have a solid foundation, naturally your passion would earn you money. Because, for instance, now, I'll still make reference to yourself. Like, there are areas that you will get to with your passion, but it is your qualification that will give you a better representation. You're a photographer, for instance. You have knowledge in videography and all of that, and someone is recommending you. You would have more substance when they look at your standing and you see, he has a beautiful career in law. He's actually a lawyer. So they would know that this person is of substance, not just anybody. Yes, you develop your passion in music. at the end of the day, you have something to back it up. You have a firm, you have a firm education, you have a firm foundation in, you are well educated in the music. I know some music artists that, they discovered that they actually have the passion, and they went to school and they read, they studied that career path. And today when they are singing, they are not just singing based on the fact that, the lyrics just come into their heads. Even though the lyrics come into their head, which is coming from the passion side, they have something to actually, and that when you're listening to people like that, you're listening to songs.
Sounds different.
Yeah, it sounds different. Not just from somebody who just, woke up one day, started singing and just, there's an example I have in my head right now. I don't know if I'm permitted to.
We shouldn't name names.
Mention names, but I have seen the difference. I listen to music a lot, and I know that when I hear something that is solid, it's just different from someone just holding the mic and expressing themselves. So when you develop those, or when you discover those talents, when you identify your passion, build on it. I can use myself as an instance. I'm a nurse, but I've always had the passion for teaching. I realized that when we were at the School of Nursing, then, I would teach people, and they would understand. And oftentimes, then my classmates would often come, we need you to teach us this. And I realized that then I do it effortlessly, because I just tell myself, okay, if I teach them, I realize that I know it better. And I realized that whichever way I teach them, I impact this knowledge to them, and people understand, and they are able to take it away and build on it. And the feedbacks I get, so I realized that was a passion. But I didn't stop myself there. I went on building on the career path as a nurse, and over time, I carved a niche into teaching, into academics. And I would say that my passion and my career now, they've merged. They've actually come together, and it's something that
gives you extreme
you wake
joy.
me up in the middle of the night to teach you. I won't even bat an eyelid before. So that's
a perfect
just
example.
Exactly. So discover your passion, and at the same time work on developing it. Hone your skills, fine tune it, get the right support, talk to the right people. And like I've always told myself, the sky is only a starting point. It's never the limit.
The world is your oyster.
The world is your oyster. Up in the sky, there's still space in the sky and in the sky, and you can keep going and going and going.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Final words.
Okay. Thank you for having me again. My own advice for the younger ones who are coming up is don't ever struggle between your passion and education. Education is a bedrock for achieving whatever you want to achieve in life. We have some musicians who become a doctor and then went back to be a musician. You understand? Because, it's their passion. They know, I can sing. I'm good in music. Can I follow music without the education? They have to make a decision. Is it sustainable for them? But by the time they now follow the educations and the passion now, opportunity now open, they opt into it easily because they will be easily accepted. Yeah. Not like somebody who's just by the side struggling with his music and now coming to present himself to people. But when you come in as somebody who is educated and now you now bring the music, the level of acceptance you will receive is going to be higher. So you have to aim at, if you want, you have a passion, strong one. You can have a passion that is very strong and you want to now follow. The world is a global village now. It's so massive, it's big. you have passion in something, you can go ahead. There's always an institution to train you to become a better person in that area, like my other co-person speaker has just said. If you are good in woodwork, you can go to school and get a degree from it. And it's your passion, so you do it effortlessly, even though you are even learning in the institution. The effort you put in and your passion and your hobby will just be like you're just doing it. A footballer said that I'm being paid so much for what I just enjoy doing. His passion is to play football. His hobby is to play football. But he never thought of, I'm going to get paid for it. But he developed himself up to a stage that he get paid, and he don't know why they're paying. Why you giving me this so much money for what I just do in my own enjoyment? So it's better for us, the younger one, do something you will be happy with at the end of the day, because any work you do and you struggle, you don't do it well. And the environment here, this environment we're talking about, it's full of legal issues. No, let's talk about legal issues. So don't do something you'll be struggling in. Do something that you will be comfortable in doing. Once it's your passion, follow it with the education. And like I said, so many institutions to train you in your passion, to convert it with education, merge it together and do it as if you're doing it effortlessly. And to be honest with you, we don't end up anything without God. With God beside you, be prayerful, be positive, and you can reach your goal. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Just as a way of rounding up this session, in the words of Adam Grant, who is an organizational psychologist at Wharton, he said the people who keep investing are the ones who keep reinventing themselves. And they are not afraid to experiment, take a new problem, try a new skill, take on a new collaborator, and work in a new culture. Remember, it's not always just about following your passion. It's about blending passion with strategy, the curiosity, and the perseverance. Now, the speakers today, they've spoken so much about how skills at the end of the day pays. Apple and many of the technology companies, they look for, people who have the skill set required, and that is owned over time. Even whether you have a passion in something, but once you have a skill at it, you can always demand to be paid for the value you've already acquired. That's all for today's episode of the All Things Thing podcast. I hope you found these insights helpful, and I hope that as you navigate your career journey, you can find very good mentors and counselors who can really guide you on the right path. I want to say a big thank you to our guests today. I'm Wally and Yeti, who have spent their time to share their wisdom with us, and we are so grateful. Don't forget to subscribe on All Things Thing podcast on Spotify and other podcast platforms, and you can follow us on Instagram at All Things Thing podcast. Before we wrap up, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our incredible sponsor, the Lost Community Council, for providing us with the fantastic studio space and the tools needed to do this podcast. And also a big shout out to Brian Arnold for his support. Our show is definitely mixed by the ever incredible Shino Steven, who actually mixes up the sound. And the music we use for this is, Sayubi, which is beautiful. And finally, a huge thank you to you who is listening today. You make this podcast possible. Next week, we'll be talking about how to create a stellar CV in order to get the jobs that you want. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning. This is Akintunde Idowu signing off. See you next time. Bye-bye.